I think there's something about, I'm interested in, physicality a lot. So body language and movement that is more emotive for me than actually, trying to describe something. So I think that's one of the things that I'm interested in terms of close-ups. My name is Yorgos Lanthimos, and these are my best shots. My favorite shot from Dogtooth is there's a shot where there's a hand with an airplane, with a toy airplane, that goes into the frame. And then, someone comes in and grabs it, and then there's like a kerfuffle that goes on. The airplane thing was a key thing for me to unlock, how the world worked.
Ο αδερφός σας πέθανε. Όσο βρίσκεστε μέσα, δεν κινδυνεύετε. Είστε προστατευμένοι.
Like when we were discussing it with Ephthimis, when we started writing the film, me trying to explain the idea to him, I came up with this example of, these kids, don't know the outside world exists. And then I was thinking, they're in this garden, so what can they see? So they can see airplanes going by. How do you explain that? And I go like, maybe they tell them it's just, toys and they throw them in the garden. And, because of the distance, they don't understand the difference. And, I remember feeling, quite content with coming up with quite a minimalist idea of how to cover that part of the scene. I think we came up with the idea of the world first, of how it would work, what would the characters be.
Now, the fact that you'll turn into an animal if you fail to fall in love with someone during your stay here is not something that should upset you or get you down.
And then structuring the outline of the film, that's how we insert those kind of elements. So most of the times I like, and especially when we're working with Ephthimis for sure, we like to reveal slowly, what the rules of the game are or the rules of the world. So, that shot is an example of like creating some kind of intrigue, more questions than answers, and then slowly then the answers come. The driver was actually the production designer in the film, the woman that comes out and kills a donkey. So yeah, again, it was a complicated shot that kind of contains quite a bit in terms of action, but also sets up the tone and information.
We wish you every success, and we hope you will return to the city as a couple. If you encounter any problems, any tensions, any arguing that you cannot resolve yourselves, you will be assigned children. That usually helps a lot.
They get like a sacred deer shot. God damn it. I mean, I quite like the close-up of Rafi on the motorbike when she's behind Barry. We shot it without, any artificial lighting, and, we were out in the streets in Cincinnati, and, it's a slow motion shot, and it's kind of distinct from the rest of the film. And, when you asked me, that's the first thing that came to mind. I quite like also the shot, if you remember, when the boy falls down at the hospital. There's like a top shot where, we see the young boy like dropping on the floor, and we're very high up.
Don't be scared, Mom. You won't be able to move either.
Which is, more of the language of the film, which is like shot a lot of the times from above, like there's some presence observing the whole story. So that's another one. I mean, the shot that comes to mind, I think it's like probably maybe the first shot that we did that kind of, I mean, there are many more elaborate shots, but this shot of Emma Stone, Abigail, playing Abigail, and she goes in to pick up and bring them hot chocolate to the Queen and Rachel. And the camera is extremely low, and I remember telling Robbie, like, he put the camera really low, and I was like, no, like really low. And like we were trying to figure out a way to get the, 35 millimeter camera right on the floor so that we're looking up at her while she's, bringing the chocolate, and how she's aware of the conversation that's happening near her.
You'll have to tell Harley you've changed your mind about the tax.
Are the people really angry about the land tax?
They'll be angry when the French are sodomizing their wives and planting their fields with garlic.
It stuck in my mind because I think it kind of set the tone of how we're going to be filming this.
Did you just look at me? Did you? Look at me! Look at me! How dare you! Close your eyes!
Most of the world was built, and visual effects were just to enhance a little bit of that. So those were some huge sets that we built in Budapest, in some of the biggest sound stages in Europe.
I have adventured it and found nothing but sugar and violence. It is most charming. I am fine.
Again, a shot that comes to mind is when Bella is walking around the ship. She's alone at night, and she goes outside, and you see the sea and the sky, which was actually an LED screen with, footage that we had already created. So it was all in camera. And some of the first shots that we tested, actually, when we were preparing the film and we're trying to figure out, the visual language of it, we built like a little part of the boat with an LED screen, and we tried some footage on there and, filmed someone on the deck. And again, it gave us a sense of what the film would look like. But also, some of the miniature stuff was quite interesting. Like we did, the exterior of Alfie's palace is a miniature and then enhanced with some VFX, and, how we, incorporated like a live action carriage within that, but the rest of it is a miniature. Or the rooftop, the black and white rooftop that we made with all these cut out parts of the city in the background. Yeah, there's quite a few interesting stuff going on in Poor Things, visually speaking. I quite like, it's not only a shot, but like it's when Emily cuts her thumb and leaves it on and faints, and the thumb is on the cutting board, and that's dissolved into a tracking shot going backwards, and then seeing her on the floor because we didn't see her fall before. I kind of like that, how that all worked with the music and the close-up of the thumb and the and the tracking shot, how all that worked out. We figured it out in the editing room, and all the elements come in, and then the music comes in, and you try things out, and that that worked really well. It's one of those things that in the editing room kind of gets you excited to see that that it worked. To be honest, I just love Emma's close-ups, in the basement with her, burgundy trench coat and white face cream. I just think, she looks iconic, and it's so powerful, and it's, we filmed it on VistaVision, and, the larger format, creates this kind of really impressive portraiture, of the characters. Those images of her in the basement are, stuck in my mind. A shot from another movie. I really love Bresson and, Pickpocket and, all the, shots of hands. And it's just so moving to me, like these details of, human interaction in such a minimalist, beautiful way is something that always moves me. I think, I do a lot of very wide shots as well. Not so much on Bugonia. We kind of stayed away a little bit of that, away of that. I think there's something about, I'm interested in, physicality a lot. So body language and movement. And, apart from, the faces, obviously, that are very important in Bugonia, especially, there's a lot of dialogue as well. There's something about the human body and how it moves and, the exclusion of the rest of the world and the space that it moves in without being, you don't have to be descriptive, but be more focused on, on the human detail and performance and movement that is more emotive for me than actually, trying to describe something. So I think that's, one of the things that I'm interested in terms of close-ups.
Thanks for watching My Best Shots. Be sure to check out the My Best Shots playlist for the latest episodes with your favorite directors.